Good morning. Welcome to the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast, a podcast by a dreamer for dreamers. It is March 6th, 2024. This would be episode 98. Got another travel edition for you as I am right now driving back home to my home in Phoenix after a long trip, at least long for me, as I left last Thursday at 1 in the morning, took a red-eye to Minneapolis, took another flight to Philadelphia, took a rental car to not New York, to Cape May, New Jersey. I did a show. After the show, I walked to a bus stop, got on a bus to Philadelphia. It took 3 hours. Then I took an Uber to a hotel near the Philadelphia International Airport. Woke up the next morning, I took an Uber to a rental car agency. I rented a car, and then I drove straight to Washington, D.C. I walked around Washington, D.C. I saw the White House, the Lincoln Memorial, whatever the tall phallic symbol is that the Jefferson Memorial? Sorry, I've seen so much stuff. And then I walked to the Capitol building, and then I drove to Virginia. I got a hotel, and then the next day I met up with a friend of mine, and then we drove back into Washington, D.C. We went to two of the museums. I can't even remember the names. My brain is scrambled. We did a couple escape rooms in D.C. because I'm addicted to them. And then we went back to Virginia. I woke up the next morning. I drove to Arlington Cemetery. I walked around. I got back in my rental car. I then drove to the Pentagon. I did not stop at the Pentagon because I couldn't figure it out, and I was already feeling like I wanted to get back to Philadelphia where my flight was. So then I drove straight back to Philadelphia. I started to get a huge migraine on my way to Philadelphia, dropped off the rental car. I got in the shuttle. I got to the airport. That was the first time I actually was able to sit down and get something to eat. So I got something to eat. I got on the plane in Philadelphia. I flew to Atlanta, where I switched planes, flew from Atlanta to Phoenix, got into Phoenix, hopped on the SkyTram, walked to my car in the economy parking lot, and that brings me to this very moment as I am driving back home to my place in Tempe after quite an eventful handful of days, traveling, touring, doing comedy, living my dreams, and I am very beat. I am filming this or recording this. It's midnight. So, quite the trip. So, I am actually feeling really inspired. I happened upon some motivational podcast Instagram account today, or not today, but tonight. I actually, when you're coming into whatever city you're flying into, and you're low enough to where your internet kicks back in, even though you're supposed to be in airplane mode, you're not in airplane mode, and you got full self-service for maybe a good 10 to 15 minutes before you land. So I was hopping on the social medias and found this TikTok or this Instagram account of just some dude who's just sort of, regurgitating any sort of standard motivational tips that are also valuable. I think it's important, although I'm being a little cynical about it. Those motivational ideas, I think, are important because Lord knows we get bombarded with enough information and enough advice, and a lot of it can be bad advice or a lot of it can be negative. And I strongly believe in the more that we can surround ourselves with positive thoughts and ideas, the better. So anyway, I just started checking out a handful of videos on this Instagram account. And one of his things, on one of his videos, he talks about how the most successful people are those who failed the most. And then he starts giving examples. Walt Disney, got fired from his dream job as an animator because they said he wasn't creative enough. J.K. Rowling got rejected by 12 publishers before she got published. I don't remember the other examples. Oh, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan got cut from his junior high or maybe his high school basketball team because he wasn't talented enough. So it was a good reminder to me because I do still have a tendency to get a little discouraged when I look around and go, I have this big dream. I see little tidbits of progress, but when I also just look at the absolute objective reality of where I'm at, it's like, I'm nowhere close to getting this dream. And it was just a good reminder that, well, maybe it's not that I'm nowhere close. Maybe I'm just a few more failures away. And one thing I thought about was how I'm really making an effort to figure out this nebulous social media game. The social media game. Figure out the algorithm. Got to post the right videos. Got to go viral. Got to have a social media following. And when I just started thinking about different ideas, I'm just reminded of how important it is to actually be excited about whatever your idea is. And that may seem like a no-brainer, but I can't tell you how often I've had an idea and I instantly regret it. Like, oh man, I guess I got to do this thing. And I don't know what it is that makes me think that's how it's supposed to be. I don't know if it's just so ingrained in our culture that, we're supposed to just struggle and, things are supposed to be arduous and miserable. And it's like, my gosh, it is hard enough to pursue a dream that you're excited about, but to try to pursue something that you're not excited about, it's like, good night. It ain't gonna happen. So I just started thinking about social media stuff again, and this idea popped into my head, and I saw it. I saw what it looked like. I knew exactly what I was doing. I'm actually spoofing an old SNL idea or an old SNL bit. And I was like, oh my gosh, it would be funny to take that idea, sort of spoof it, but then also make it my own, which is also consistent with something I had read recently about how, like really great artists, they don't create, they just steal or something like that. I'm messing with that quote. I'm trying to steal the quote and I'm even stealing it wrong. But, it's this whole idea of like, nobody's really come up with an original story. We just keep telling the same stories over and over and over and over and over again. We just kind of put our own lipstick on it. So I just went, yeah, when I started to think about this idea and how I was going to spoof this old SNL skit, I got really excited and I started to laugh at how I was thinking about doing it. And I got really excited. And all of that happened just in like the last 10 minutes before my plane touched down in Arizona. And I had a few minutes of internet and saw that motivational video and was just like, let's just go and do it. I'm excited about the idea. I have an idea of how to execute it. And let's just go produce the video, put it online, and see if this happens to hit or if it's just another one of the many failures that will be required for me to fail before things start to turn around. So anyway, I am going to keep this one short. I am almost home. It has been a very fun journey. I'm looking forward to what these next couple of months will bring. I am going to see if I can get my new social media idea that I had, see if I can get one of them filmed and posted here and just see how it does. And just keep moving forward. Just keep moving forward, everybody. That's the name of the game. Fail as many times as it takes. The more often and frequently I can fail and not let it completely derail me from continuing to try is just the name of the game. Just nonstop experimentation until I find the right formula that works for me and that will start to yield the results I'm looking for. And all part of the journey, all part of dreaming. So anybody out there, if you got a dream and it seems like you're just failing at it again and again and again and again, I would say you are doing something right. You are on the right track. Fail as many times as it takes. Have an idea. Go for it. If the idea speaks to you, go for it. Put it out there. See what happens. Learn, pivot, grow, fail again. Learn, pivot, grow, fail again. And do that as many times as it takes before, something finally pops for you. At least that's what I'm hoping. But that's what's interesting about this podcast is I am coming to you in real time. I think so often we only get to hear the end of, we only hear the stories after the story is ended and we already know how it's going to end. So that's the only reason we want to watch it. So hopefully, as I continue on this journey of dreaming and going for what it is that I'm looking to accomplish as a comedian and as an actor and all of that fun stuff, that this will ultimately end. It's never going to end because it's all a journey. But, hopefully I'll start to hit some milestones that will be inspirational. But until then, I am just bringing you all along on this journey of going for a big dream. And I hope you're doing the same. I hope that you are finding your courage, finding what speaks to you, what speaks to your heart, and that you're finding the courage to go for it and to go for it with everything you got. So I'm going to cut this one a little short since it has been a very long trip and I'm just now getting back home and I want to sort of regroup and get situated. Still got a long week ahead of me. So I will let you all go for now, but I will definitely check in with you tomorrow. So thank you so much for listening. This is March 6th, 2024, episode 98 of the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. I love you all so much. I will check in with you tomorrow.